I'll never forget the day that I came home from work. And my wife stopped me at the door and she says, honey, be prepared for what you're going to see. And I walked in and I saw markers all across the walls, all across the windows. And so I called out for my son. At this time, he was 3 years old. I said, Balin, where are you, son? And typically when I walk in from work, he runs and he embraces me and he hugs me. He's so excited to see me. This time, I couldn't find him. He was hiding. He was terrified because of what he'd done. And so I kept calling for his name. He finally came out. He walks towards me, not with an excitement, but he walks towards me with this just covered in complete shame. His head is down. His hands are behind his back. He's looking at the floor. And I say, hey, Balin, what's going on, bud? And I pick his head up so he can look me right in the eyes. And he just kind of says nothing. And I said, buddy, what happened to the walls? And he says, I don't know. And I said, well, buddy, there's marker all over the walls. Either you did it or mom did it. Who did it? And he looked at me and said, I don't know. And so at this point, obviously, I knew he wasn't telling the truth, but I also knew that he was covering this shame because he did something he knew he wasn't supposed to do. And so I then asked him to show me his hands. And he slowly looked down. He took his hands out and he looked down at his hands as if he was so ashamed at what he was showing me. And on his hands were covered with the evidence, guilty. There was marker all over his hands. And so I took his hands and I looked at them and I said, buddy, did you mark the walls up? It's all over your hands. And he looked down and said, yes, sir. And so I said, hey, buddy, listen, don't ever do that again. It's okay, but don't do that again. And I took his hands and I kissed his hands and I looked at him and said, buddy, Daddy loves you. And Daddy's never gonna stop loving you just because you mess up. And you can almost see simply off of those words, the guilt and shame just came off of him. Everything he thought wasn't true. And it came off of him. I wasn't gonna leave him. I wasn't gonna love him less. And I wasn't gonna stop loving him. And I embraced him. And man, it was a sweet moment. Do you know that's how our God works with us? That in those moments of shame where we're hiding our sin and we're hiding the filth of our hands and we're so ashamed to bring it to God because we're so disgusted with ourselves. Do you know that anything we have to uncover and bring to Him, He will cover and embrace with His love? Isn't that amazing? So let me encourage you. No matter how dirty you think your hands are, all you have to do is bring them to the Father and let Him cover them and embrace you.